the task itself for the PQ meter, and all we had to do, or I had to do, sorry, was you get 4 CTs, current transformers. So we were using Rogowski coil ones, so like a rubber band as such. And then that, you get 1 for red, white, blue, and neutral, phase 1, 2, 3. So you have to just clamp them round the cables. So I've done that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And at this point, I've got what I was wearing, yeah, because that's part of the issue. I was just wearing shorts and t-shirts, like work shorts, work t-shirt, short sleeved, and trainers, you know, which is totally against protocol, safe work systems.
So non-FR?
No, not FR, by far, probably the furthest thing you can get from FR. So, yes, I'm sort of down, so it was at sort of low level, the switchboard, where the mains cables were coming in from the transformer, LV. So I've put on the 4 CTs round there, and then I had to get a V-sense, voltage reference, for the machine to work, operate, check the distortion in the lines, the power quality basically. So there was nowhere to connect onto without switching off. I mean, so you had a spare MCCB slot, molded case circuit breaker, and then you have like red, white, and blue. And then my plan was to clamp onto them to get the V-sense, because it's just temporary, it's testing work, so it doesn't need to be connected, the clamps are fine. So the black rubbers were on the circuit breakers, the spigots, the buzz bar coming out. So I've done the hard part would normally be the CTs. I mean, I've done that, and all I had to do was clamp. So I had my screwdriver.
It's something you're pretty comfortable at doing.
Yeah. I mean, I'd done it before many times, live and dead, you know what I mean? So I was very confident of what I had to do. Like, the task itself wasn't really challenging. So I had my screwdriver, and I had my gloves on, like my LVR kit and that, gloves, inner's, outers. And then so I went to remove the red one, the red phase, to get the crocodile clamp on. So I just did that, took the little black rubber off, clamped that on. And then I was just about to do, I was doing the exact same for the phase 2, the white phase. So as I have my screwdriver, as soon as I've put any pressure on the phase, the buzz bar to remove the black cap to clamp, as soon as I've touched that, it just went like, that's just not so necessarily boom. It was more like a really white light. You know what I mean? A bright light, so bright, and then there was a very loud screeching sound, like fucking loud, like really loud. Like, I don't even know how to describe the noise. It was like a disgusting noise, like just really loud and instant. You know what I mean? See the white flash and then the noise. So I'm obviously down like this. I was doing basically like this, on working on it, and then as soon as that's happened, I've pulled away because of the flash and what's happened, and then I'm just sort of lying on the ground. Yeah, that was the initial incident there, and yeah, it was fucking hectic. Yeah.
And it's obviously thrown you back on the ground. What was the next phase of that? So you've you've been in a pretty serious arc flash incident.
Yeah, I didn't even know what had happened really. Like I know to this day that I never crossed any phases. I never crossed my screwdriver and that. So it was like a shock. Like, I flew back. Like, I never got an electric shock, but it was just with that impact coming out, you know what I mean? Like that, it just flew me back, and I'm just sort of lying on the ground, like, oh fuck, and I've sort of got up, and I'm like a bit confused and all that. I can smell like burning skin, you know what I mean? I've slightly smelled that before, sadly, but and burning hair. I'm like, and I'm sort of looking at myself, and I'm like there was bits of skin and all that hanging off. This bit took the brunt of it, this arm. And then I've ended up phoning my missus. Well, it was my wife now, and I was like, I don't exactly know what's happened. I don't know exactly what I said, but I know I said something like, I'm not in a good way. Like, something's happened to me, I'm not in a good way. I just wanted to let you know that. And then I can't remember what else we discussed, if anything. I know she was very upset, and then I just had to phone her and tell her.
There's an image that we can show that shows the severity of what you were going through. It's quite a powerful image.
That image, mate. That image is infamous. And that we still don't know who took that picture. If we can ever find out who took it, yeah. So that image you're discussing is when I'm on the phone. I've got a really good memory up until I get to the hospital. You know what I mean? So the ambulance journey, I recall it, where I was sort of laid down, and then they were asking me like, about, have you got pain in that? And I was like, look, man, I'm having no pain at all, like nothing. You know what I mean? I'm obviously a bit adrenaline, yeah, and I think he had said that to me, that yeah, it'll be the adrenaline. He says, look, we're going to need to give you some sort of pain relief. Yeah, it was pretty strong, he was telling me. He says, look, you're going to need to take this. And I was just doing everything I was told. So, but in speaking to my wife, obviously later, she said that when she got there, she wasn't allowed to see me. Well, my wife is obviously a bit worried, like, why can I not see him? Like, and her and Martin, my boss, was there. He was a CEO at the time. And so they're obviously getting worried, and then the consultants came in, the doctor, and basically just prepped them, especially Mel, about what I look like.
Yeah.
So just
because at this stage you weren't sort of covered in bandages.
So basically at this point my face is all burnt up, my skin's all burnt up. You know what I mean? Bits that were hanging off and that, and like my legs where it happened. Yeah, so she was prepared, like briefed basically when you go in, like you can go in and see Mark now, but just be prepared, like it doesn't look too good.
Because you're obviously quite burnt on the face as well.
And there's content, there's pictures that I'm sure you've seen them or that. Yeah, so it's pretty horrific, do you know what I mean? So she got prepped out what it was going to look like, and then I have no memories now until after the surgery. And what Mel described me as, I looked like a mummy, you know, because I was full splint, so I've got bandages with a wooden splint in there so I can't move.
Yeah.
And then my legs were the same, do you know what I mean? Because the skins needs to stay straight to settle initially.
And face wrapped as well.
And my face was wrapped, like, yeah, there's pictures of it, yeah, we can have a look at them, and I'm sure I look like Batman, you know what I mean? Well, I think only little bit that was shown was this. I can't fully remember right now, but there was very limited you could see, and that's sort of when I've seen myself, and I'm like, whoa, yeah, this is serious, do you know what I mean? This is, and...
Yep. Now, this is probably the most painful sort of experience at this point when we get into this next phase of that.
Yes.
Treatment?
Yes, correct. This is where, how would I say it? It's like the daily process of having to clean the burns. So now I'm out the splints, I've got bandages on with like special cream, and then they wrap them up to keep them tight. So, and then every morning I had to get like wheeled into a shower, you know what I mean, in like a little wheelchair thing, and then with the nurse, you know what I mean, like doing it, not my wife or that, and then we have to take, so all this skin graft here, you have to, so whether you wrap it in bandage to keep the pressure, but you need to take that off, because it's been on all day, it's stuck.
Sticks, yeah.
So you have to go in the shower, the hot water, you wet it, and then you're pulling that off, and I was administered every morning some sort of painkiller for it, like.
But it still wasn't enough.
Oh man, it was really sore, and that was every day, you're ripping them off. And this was probably for another sort of maybe 10 days, that. And each day, it was, you could see it starting to heal.
You had the, I suppose, the after effects of the investigation into your incident as well, which carried on.
That was playing on my mind a little bit. Like I had to have the investigation had to be conducted in the hospital initially, yeah, because they were trying to do it quickly. And then... in the background, they'd be doing their reporting of what would happen, blame game or whatever they were working on. So that was in the back of my head. I knew I had to go for my tribunal at some point. But I wasn't really that worried about what they were going to do to me, because I'm alive. Do you know what I mean? I'm alive, and I accept what's happened. Do you know what I mean? I accept I'm at fault. You know what I mean? For the situation I put myself in, was totally against the safe working practices. You know what I mean? The safe systems of work, the risk assessment I done. It was against all that, so I knew I was going to be getting into some sort of disciplinary. Yes, but I wasn't really worried about it. I just wanted that done. I wanted that sort of to happen soon, but I think that dragged on months and months. Yeah, I don't recall exactly how long, but maybe 6-9 months, maybe. Yeah, until it all was done and dusted. So that was playing on me, but I wanted to get back to work. That was something that I was trying to focus on as well.
So obviously we've already touched on previously about the fact that you weren't wearing any fire-resistant workwear protection or protection for arc flash. So you were just wearing a t-shirt and shorts and a pair of sneakers. We're nearly 6 years down the track now. If you could go back, what would you have done differently?
Oh, yeah. Where do you want me to start? Well, first of all, I would have not worked live, right? Okay. Now we're 6 years down the line, I've retrained in health and safety. And that's where I've learned a lot around sort of electrical legislation. It's like Electrical Safety Act, regulation, codes of practice, as well as workplace health and safety stuff. So 6 years down the line, I've got so much more knowledge of rights and wrongs, of do's and don'ts around that incident. So first of all, I would never ever expose myself or any of the workers to working live, especially wearing sneakers, shorts and t-shirts. You know what I mean? It was an absolute disgrace, you know what I mean, what I was wearing. And then there's probably still Sparkies out there doing that now.
Were you aware of how severe that arc flash was?
I probably wasn't aware of. I'd heard of it. Like, I think the industry's lacking massively training and education around arc flashing. Like, that has been identified by many governing bodies lately, as well as the Electrical Safety Office and your NECAs and other organisations. It's getting really highlighted that, yeah, I understood what it was to an extent, but I didn't really know. It never really is part of training, really, as far as I did. And I'd be a competent electrician, I would say. I knew my stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to put myself at that level of exposure for no gain whatsoever, by pleasing the client or getting the job done quicker, is not acceptable. Like, 6 years down the line, I'm embarrassed, you know what I mean, about the way I went about that. And in a nutshell, the work should have been rescheduled. The power should have been isolated, and if it wasn't able to be isolated then and there, then the work should have been rescheduled in consultation with the client about a time that suits us to turn the power off. And if for any reason we had to do it live, do you know what I mean? But if it was a hospital or any live testing, then you need to be wearing that minimum Cat 2 PPE. You know what I mean? Like that. That is a minimum, yeah. But so much I would have done. I wouldn't have been there. I would never have been there opening that switchboard in shorts and t-shirts.
You could have proposed to Mel a bit earlier.
Yeah, and I could have went on my holiday at Hamilton Island, yeah. But it's one thing, part of the reason why I'm sitting here with you, Dean, is that around the educational thing with the industry, where I don't think the electricians or even the business owners, I don't think they really understand their obligations or legislative obligations as business owners about the PPE that is a minimum, or your last form of defence, the PPE, you know what I mean? But if I had been wearing the correct PPE and the incident still happened, I would have had nothing wrong.
For the sake of a couple $100.
For the sake of a couple of $100, you know what I mean? It should be mandated that every electrician should own the FR, some sort of FR clothing for instances like this. Like, even now with the new legislation that's came out recently around testing live, mate, this is a no-go. If you're trying to prove de-energized circuits, that's now classified as live work under legislation. So that means that every single electrician out there who's isolating a circuit and needs to prove it's dead needs to own FR clothing. You know what I mean? And I think that's where I'm passionate about trying to educate the industry, as well as the electricians and as well as the companies that are employing these guys.
If you had one message for Sparkies in Australia at the moment, what would it be?
Oh, it's simple. Just don't work live. Don't try and please your client or try and get the job done quicker. There should be no need for you to work live. So I strongly advise you to just take that 5 minutes to think, you know what I mean, and plan it properly and isolate the power. And if required, then you wear your FR range. But simple message, don't work live.
Yeah, well said, mate.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks heaps, mate.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
me as
Thanks
well.
a lot.
Cheers, Dean.